What's up, everyone? Thursday Night Football Showdown breakdown. We got the Titans. We got the Steelers. Will Levis. All that good stuff. We're going to break it down for you and see how we can take this tournament down. Let's win another one. Back with Bobby Millions, the man who brought us the Will Levis to Hopkins stack in NFL Week 8 that took the million down. I made fun of it. I said, no way. Didn't believe in it. Didn't do it. That's why
rightfully
Bobby
so.
Wow's here.
Rightfully so.
Not rightfully so. Took my punishment on Monday. Turd hat. Had to wear it. Told the fam it was a Halloween thing. I didn't want the family to know about the shame. I already put the hat on. I did the turd hat. I accept my responsibility. But that's why we got the GOAT here with us to break down another one. And we have an interesting game tonight between the Steelers and the Titans. Steelers at home. And let's just jump right into this breakdown. You know, the game's just hours away. It's just hours away. And as always, we like to take a look at still David wants me to wear the hat all week. Like, it's just hot, bro. Like, you get sweaty under that hat. Like, it's like wearing a thick old cap indoors. Took my punishment for that one. But we got a good one here. So a good one, an interesting game, and it's different, it's unique, and we don't really know what's going to happen. So that makes it fun. So all right, we start with the Steelers side of it, right? And right off the bat, the big thing with the Steelers at this point at running back is these guys are just straight splitting touches, Harris and Warren. You could see last week, it's about a 50-50 split. It's really close on the rushes. It's really close on the target. Both are used quite a bit, but neither one really justifies their salary.
No, yeah, exactly right. I mean, Najee's gotten a couple more touches, but Warren's been the better back, and the team's just not willing to commit to either one. So not a great situation.
Tough spot. Last week, all the targets went to Deontay Johnson, and you know he came back with a fury, 35% target share. I think it was 14 targets. Bobbywow,
14 targets. Look, he is a favorite of Mitchell Trubisky. I know Trubisky hasn't played a lot. He came in relief of Pickett last week, but every time Trubisky's been in, going back to last season, Deontay's been his guy. So I think that's part of it. But you know, we'll talk about the health too. I think that's another component. That's
right, and so. The thing with Pickens is Pickett and Pickens have had a decent repertoire.
Yes. And
Deontay, for all those targets and all of that, rarely gets in the end zone or does a whole lot. So he's not a big play guy where Pickens is, and Pickens has that chance to, you know, just put the big play on, so to speak. Yep. So that one's interesting. Jeffrey Battaglia is big on the over for this game. So we'll see how that goes tonight. But at wide receiver, after Pickens and Deontay, it's just pretty much a pile of garbage. Allen Robinson, Calvin Austin barely getting any kind of work. Then a tight end. You know what? Connor Hayward's been pretty decent in the absence of
Patty?
Yeah.
Patty Fryermuth?
Yeah, of the Muth. So Connor Hayward's been okay. Last week coming up 15% target share, and that's been about what he's getting. He's getting 3-4 targets a game. So in the mix.
He fits the bill. He fits the bill of solid, not sexy. But yeah, the price is right.
Yeah. So as we shift over to the Titans offense, this is the one. So we pretty much know what the Steelers do, right? It's the same quarterback. You know, Deontay's back, but for the most part, they're doing what they've been doing all year, splitting the touches with the running backs. They need to play good defense to win these games. Titans defense is actually one that you can attack via the pass. So we'll see how that goes tonight.
Yep.
On the Titans side, you know, obviously the emergence of Will Levis kind of changes everything in terms of how they're going to run this team, how they're going to run the offense, and all of that stuff, right? Will Levis appears to be a quarterback that can push the football down the field. We saw it last week. So who knows? So let's take a look at what happened last week. Derrick Henry, maintaining his sort of 65% snap share which is about what he's been doing most of the season. Now, one thing we know about the Titans, Bobbywow, is when they're playing well and they're playing a close game or from ahead, Derrick Henry gets the work. The problem with the Titans and Henry and his scoring is when they fall behind, he kind of comes out for Tajay Spears. So if you think that the Titans are going to fall behind big in this game, that's where you want to shift to a little more Spears, I would say, where Henry is the one that you want in a winning effort for the Titans.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. I think we'll talk about it more when we get to the notes, but I think more than anyone, Will Levis being competent raises up Derrick Henry, even more than the wide receivers. Like, that is such a big deal for Henry. We saw it in the snap share last week with his increase. But yeah, I think Levis being competent actually upgrades Henry in a big way.
Big time. Competent offense. They're putting in position to score more. He threw to Derrick Henry as well a little bit last week. So that's really, really exciting. And I think Derrick Henry, for me, is probably up there as one of the top plays on the slate. So we'll see how that goes, but he's definitely one of the top plays. Tajay Spears gets work as well, though. A lot of passing game work last week. Not much on the run, but he got some targets. So we'll have to take a look at his price. Now, the big play last week, of course, was DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I want to take a look at Hopkins' stat line for that game. I just want to pull it up here. But how many targets did he have? I mean, like, you called out Hopkins. Yeah,
6 targets, but he had 4 catches. 3 of those were touchdowns. That's not sustainable. At least that's what I would think. What about you, Geek?
Yeah, obviously, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 37 fantasy points is not going to be something that is repeatable. Most
averaging 9 points a catch.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite that was a spectacular, almost once in a lifetime. He's got the toe issue, expected to play, so we expect to see him out there this week. And that's like all we need to know about that, right? He'll be out there, he'll be doing his thing, and that's fine. So the other wide receivers for the Titans, the 3 other pass catchers. Now, Westbrook-Ikhine, and this is important, Westbrook-Ikhine, Treylon Burks, kind of even split in snap share last week. I don't know who the hell they're bringing out on the field, but Chris Moore is out there blocking. So I think that some of these wide receivers are just kind of brought in packages for blocking purposes and other reasons. It's really weird how their percentages work out. But Treylon Burks is the guy that one would think at some point will emerge and sort of show what he can do. He's a highly drafted guy, but we haven't seen it from Treylon Burks in 2 seasons as of yet, Bobbywow.
Yeah, he's coming back from injury. So, a big component of it is he gonna regain his health? Because like you said, he's got talent, he's got potential, and now maybe even a competent quarterback. So yeah, interesting. Him and Westbrook-Ikhine are interesting, but the Titans like to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, which is why it gets really, really weird down here with snap percentages.
Yeah, so they're running 2 tight ends, and it's usually going to be Chig and I guess it's Wesco or Wiley most of the time is that TE2.
It's Wesco.
Yeah, so Trayvon Wesco, but they don't throw to Wesco. He's basically operating as an additional offensive lineman. So Wesco is you only really need to you only really need to play Wesco in like that goal line, sneak out, catches a touchdown, everybody's surprised, almost like an offensive lineman play on the goal line. That's where he could hurt us. He's
a guy where, they pitch it to Henry and Henry throws a touchdown pass to Wesco. Like, that's the showdown scenario. But yeah, that's about it.
And so with that being said, and now that we've discussed so the starting lineups and what most teams do. So how do you see this game playing out in terms of, last week, of course, they kind of aired it out. Will Levis, the whole Will Levis show thing happened. Steelers are a good defense at home, though. And so do they take it back to their roots and go a little more conservative here? Both teams lean heavy on the run and play this sort of drag it out, knock down, drag out sort of low scoring affair. I think that's definitely a way that the game goes. And if it does go that way, how do you play that for the showdown? Like, how do you think it goes down?
I think that's the general consensus. And that seems to be the most likely outcome, is that this game turns into a grinding, slow-paced, defensive type of matchup where we do see a lot of running. I mean, these are two of the slower paced offenses in the league as it is. The offenses have not looked very competent in terms of putting up points. So that's the most likely outcome. And I think, in that case, we have to favor defenses and kickers a little bit more than normal. And we might not require as many points as we would on a typical showdown slate from some of the top priced guys.
Both of these defenses have to be in play as well. They just have to be. 36.5 point game total is as low as it gets in the National Football League. Like I don't think we've ever seen like a 29. You know what I mean? Like I think I've seen a 35, but I cannot remember seeing anything even lower than 35 ever on a game. I'm sure it's happened, but this is as low scoring as it gets. And I think strategically, when a game's going to kind of be like that, you have to allow players that normally wouldn't be in your mix because of low projections to sort of make their way in, like a 7K Jaylen Warren.
Right.
All right, I'm not playing that guy. Well, you know what? If one of Warren or Najee is the guy that scores that touchdown, and even if they only get 12 fantasy points in the game, that's probably the best score you're going to see from a 7K player. Yes. So strategically, there we go. Diesel Hog. Yeah, there was a 33-pointer. I don't think that game last week was that. Maybe that happened in the past, but I don't think last week's game was 33. Could be wrong, but a Chiefs game is not going to be a 33. So let's get into the cheat sheet, Bobbywow. And I want to remind you guys, if you're watching this, hit that like button, subscribe. Let us know who your favorite captains are. We love the comments. And of course, I've turned off monetization for this video once again, because I said last week, you give us those likes, we'll shut that down. Hate commercials. Fuck the commercials, right? So we turned it off. But when we do that, we don't really get distribution from YouTube. So it's just our crew, our DFS Army subscribers. But hit that like button. Let us know that you appreciate no commercials for these breakdowns. I'm doing my best.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I hate commercials. It's just YouTube. They force us to do it, or else no one will see the video.
Remember TiVo? Did you ever have a TiVo?
Oh man, I was a TiVo maniac.
Okay,
love it. TiVo
makes sense. I figured.
Yeah, I until I got streaming, I had TiVo up until I held on to my TiVo longer than I should have. I kept going with it.
Maniac.
Yeah, I love the TiVo. All right. Cheat sheet. So let's talk about potential captains. And it's weird. There's not that many that really pop. So take me through the list. Start with Derrick Henry, who is the 4-star guy, the all formats, and probably one of the top options here.
Yeah, I think, it comes down to volume in a game like this. Derrick Henry is going to get the football. He's going to get his touches. And, he was involved in the passing game as well last week with Levis. So to me, he's got arguably the highest floor on the slate of anybody. And I think, the upside, maybe the highest upside as well. So I think, across the board, Henry's a really intriguing play. He was clearly benefited from Levis last week. He put up, in my opinion, his best numbers of the season so far. And there's a misconception with the Steelers that they're a really staunch run defense. They've actually been allowing above average points to running backs this season. We saw, obviously, Christian McCaffrey had a massive game, but guys like, Dameon Pierce, Travis Etienne last week, Jerome Ford had that massive game against the Steelers defense. So this is a Steelers defense that can be vulnerable to the run, and Henry's a guy that can take advantage.
Henry, just as long as the game is close, Henry's heavily involved in. I just don't see any scenario where it's unlikely that this game gets out of hand for one side or the other. So I think Henry remains involved the whole time. And I'm encouraged by the fact that Will Levis threw to Henry a few times last week. It wasn't like, no, don't throw to him. He caught some passes as well. So I do like that situation. Another obvious potential captain play, DeAndre Hopkins, coming off of a 37-pointer. Bobbywow?
Yeah, I think, not much to say about him. Last week was massive. He turned back the clock a little bit with those 3 touchdowns. That's not a sustainable output for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins at this point in his career. So I'm not as excited to go back to the well on him, especially because he's so priced up. But yeah, I mean, he's firmly in play. And again, receivers might not need to score a touchdown to be a top scorer on the slate. So, Hopkins 6, 7 targets, 5, 6 catches could get him there.
It's bananas that Hopkins is 11-2. Just to give you an idea
So
of who is
expensive.
11-2. like Devonta Adams, like 10-6. You know what I'm saying? Like they priced him in the Christian McCaffrey / Tyreek Hill level for this game because of what happened last week.
They did. Yeah. The pricing is really weird too, as you look across the slate. So not really as restrictive as you might think, but he is really expensive.
Yeah, this is bizarre. All right. Will Levis, the hero. Can he do it again?
I don't think you could argue, for sure one way or the other, right? We've got one game of sample size. Anyone who tells you that they know for sure he's going to stink or that he's going to be great, they're lying through their teeth. They have no idea. So yeah, absolutely. It's within the realm of possibilities that Levis looks good again. I mean, the Steelers, again, have allowed more yards than average to QBs, and Minkah Fitzpatrick is out. So there are paths there for Will Levis to succeed. Again, I'm not super excited about it, but yeah, I think all outcomes are possible with him.
7 rushing attempts last week for just 11 yards.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
He actually looked, he showcased some legitimate rushing upside in college at times. So I think I put that in the notes too. Like, that will be the X factor. If Levis can get out of the pocket and utilize his legs a little bit, I think that would be what propels him to that top score. So he would need that.
Apparently John Paul Jones, the bassist for Led Zeppelin, is going to be on Burks this week, and he is a good. Now, how do you know he's going to be on Burks and not on DeAndre Hopkins? That's my question for Sildaven. But I'm a big John Paul Jones guy. Lemon Song, best bass guitar riff of any song ever made.
Wow.
At me. Catch me outside. How about that? Said it. Joey Porter Jr. Thought it was John Paul Jones. Okay, so where are we? Will Levis. I wasn't challenging you like in a I know this answer. I'm just like,
totally.
I wasn't like doing that in any like sarcasm way. I was legitimately asking, how do you know he's going to be on Burks and not on DeAndre Hopkins? That's what I was not saying that as like a, how do you know what I mean? I was like, I want to know. Okay, so Will Levis, though, very playable. You got to play some Will Levis here.
Cheap.
Just because he can. We don't know what we only saw 1 week, 7 rush attempts. What if he's good at running the football? What if he's terrible? We don't have any clue.
And again, slates like these, we see quarterbacks sneak their way into the optimal lineup with 15, 16 points. So it's not like we need a 4 touchdown game for him to get there.
That's right. Yeah, you can get there really, really slim. And again, if Will Levis runs for a touchdown, so that's how he gets there as a captain. Kenny Pickett, though, the fade call from Bobby. Finally, Kenny Pickett, of all the people, is not a quarterback that should show up as a captain on DraftKings. I would be shocked. He's never scored. Bobby, take me through it.
We did a little deep dive into Kenny Pickett because I think everyone is well aware that he's not been great, right? He has been worse than that. This guy is not a fantasy producer. He's had 20 career starts. He's had multiple touchdown passes in one of those starts. He's thrown for more than 300 yards in only one of those starts. And he has yet to crack the 20 fantasy point mark in any of those starts. So Kenny Pickett, add in the fact that he's coming in banged up. He's been dealing with a rib injury. This does not bode well for his potential fantasy output.
Only plus I could see is that the Titans have been a team that you could throw on.
They have been, but again, that he's come across those defenses already a couple times this season and flopped. Look, it's a showdown, right? Anything can happen. We've seen this before, but if the 21st time is the first time for Kenny Pickett, I'm willing to tip my cap.
He came out of the game last week, got banged up, ribs, coming back. So let's, who knows, a guy who got knocked out of a game last week. And I think it's really important to mention, Bobbywow, that all of those targets, this is what you were saying before, but all those targets that went to Deontay Johnson, they happened while Trubisky, I don't know why I can't find this. They happened while Trubisky was at the helm, or a lot of them. So the target distribution from last week is not necessarily what we're going to see tonight. So let's talk about the other two guys. George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Take me through these two potential captains.
Yeah, I think in spite of Kenny Pickett's lackluster play, these two guys are maybe, two of the best plays on the slate across the board, particularly Pickens.
Which is weird because the quarterback seems bad, but then these guys are fine. That's weird.
Yeah, it's all about the PPR, right? Like,
Yeah.
Pickett's going to throw the ball 35 to 40 times. 25 of those are going to go to, either of these two guys. So the volume is intriguing. Pickens is a touchdown guy. Volatile, but his upside exceeds Johnson to me. So I think Pickens is the top option. But, Johnson, yes, Trubisky was the main reason he saw all the targets, but he finally looks healthy again for the first time this season. And that's worth noting. So either of these guys, I think they're two of the better plays on the slate.
I'm fine with it. I'm going to favor Pickens over Deontay. If you're asking me, I see that you favor him as well. So I like that. I agree. I think Pickens is more likely to get a touchdown.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just that simple. If somebody's catching a touchdown, it's probably more likely to be Pickens.
He had one catch last week, and it was a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what he do. He catches touchdowns. So I like him for that purpose. Yeah, Deontay Johnson is more of a volume guy, but he's never done it with Pickens. He's never. Remember how I had the Deontay Johnson cheat code as a DFS Army thing for a few years, yes. And we were able to really make a lot of money off of that. Like that was the ultimate cash game cheat code. We would play him every week with Big Ben because he would get 12 targets. I haven't seen that in the Pickett era. Like that has not happened in this Pickett era. So, let's just accept what that is. I think both of these defenses, who you left both off of the captain chart, but both defenses are playable captains for me, Bobbywow. Both of them.
That's fair. You could make the argument for them. You could also make the argument for the kickers, I think.
Yes. But more so the defense. I could see the Steelers defense just shocking the world with like a 21.
Not even shocking. It's a rookie quarterback. We have to remember that's his second career start.
That's right. I don't think that will be highly owned, or actually I don't know. I'm curious to see the ownership. Actually, yeah, I'm curious to see the ownership of that. Two other names you put in here though as dart throws: Chig Okonkwo and Treylon Burks. So take me through these two potential, because we didn't see much out of a ton out of these guys last week.
Yeah, I think with Chig, he's a guy that was him and Burks both were pegged as potential breakout candidates for 2023. Both those guys have legitimate pass catching ability, super athletic. I think, we talk about it all the time. For newer quarterbacks, tight ends often tend to be the safety valve. So, we didn't see it totally last week. I think Chig had 4 or 5 catches. But at that price, it's intriguing with Levis there against a defense that, should be a little bit better against the pass. So I think there's some upside with Chig there at that price. And then, Treylon Burks, he's a guy that people were talking about as a WR1 coming into the season. Seems like he's finally getting healthy again. He was dealing with a knee injury, played for the first time last week. I think he'll see more snaps this week. And, at 3,800, he's a dart throw option if you're, running out 150 lineups. As a guy that could potentially find the end zone and, have 50 or 60 yards.
I like it. Yeah, I agree. And Burks didn't do anything though last week, so let's be aware of it. But that could change. And Hopkins has a toe. Third play of the game, Hopkins limps out. Toes hurt. My toe.
Mike Tomlin's going to take someone out of the game. That's not Derrick Henry. He's going to take Hopkins out. No one's going to Treylon Burks and say we got to shut this guy down. So
yeah, he
could be the beneficiary of that.
If he's wise, he would take Derrick Henry out of the game.
Right. Yes.
All right. So some other spots that we didn't cover. Harris and Jaylen Warren. You like Warren a little bit better. They're both priced almost ridiculous for what their roles are. But on this slate, that might be all you need. Like it's going to be a dangerous fade, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't fully fade it here. Like Najee at 7,200. I mean, that's a high price to pay for a guy that really hasn't put up more than 15 fantasy points yet this season. Sure, that might be all he needs, but that's his ceiling game is 15 fantasy points. That's the best he's done this season. So it's tough sell for me.
Average score. So here you want a reason to play Steelers even. Najee is averaging 8.5 fantasy points per game. Warren is averaging 9.7 points per game. Steelers defense is averaging 10.4 fantasy points per game.
There you go.
You don't see that every day, right? But 10 might be enough to do it here. So that's always that's really interesting. Tajay Spears, who's also averaging a healthy 8 fantasy points per game. I don't know that this is the best matchup for him, but
He's
Bobby
fine.
is asking about where is that? I saw a question. Double 2 RB lineups.
I would not consider that for Pittsburgh. I think, it's more viable on the Titans side. I think Spears presents, the change of pace that might be needed against the Steelers. So we could see both those guys getting some decent production, Henry and Spears, but I'm not super excited about that.
Yeah, and I definitely don't I don't love the idea. I'm not going to prevent it though, but I don't love the idea of Harrison and Warren together.
I'm probably not playing even one of those guys, but yeah, I hate the idea of both of those two.
It's not a great scene. I mean, they could get there. I could see one of them getting there, but it's just not a great scene. What about some kickers here? Let's see who are the cute. Let's find the kicker pricing. So we got Boswell, we got Nick Folk, old friend. Both been, this seems like a game for a lot of kicks, Bobbywow. This seems like the kind of game where it's just field goal after field goal. They can't get in the end zone.
Yeah. Offenses have to move to stall, which is the only concern because these offenses would stall before scoring a touchdown. But yeah, I think, this is like the perfect game environment for a kicker to score well. Absolutely.
No, I just want to address this trade. Yes, do that trade. Sell Carr and McLaurin, pick up Devontae Adams, even though Devontae Adams is now catching passes from AOC. I don't care.
So what's that? I mean, that's essentially McLaurin for Devontae straight up at the end of the day.
You forget the Carr part. So it's just, I would do that trade because you're getting Devontae Adams for McLaurin.
Aiden Hutchinson, though.
What?
Or Aiden O'Connell. What's his name? Aiden O'Connell.
We call him Alexander Ocasio O'Connell.
That's right. AOC. That's right. Okay. Jeez.
All right. So anyway, where were we? Kickers. Love the kickers. Love both. Dude, a defensive game, low scoring. That's when you get 3 field goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes 4.
Those guys are big time in play.
Kickers, defense, absolutely in play. I don't know if I want to do the old kicker, defense thing, but my boy Jaguar Lou once won $1 million on a showdown, leaving something like $12K on the table with kicker, defense on a game with a 35-point total, just like this one.
If there was a game to do it, this feels like it would be it.
This is one of those games where you can do that. Kicker, defense, Chiga Okonkwo. That's it.
Wow.
There are some other names here that I think are exciting and pay down options that allow you to do whatever you want. I love that Noah asked us that question after he had made the trade, just a confirmation that it was a good move. You did well, Noah. Good job. He's like, I already did it. So anyway, I just find that funny. There are names down here that I'm interested in. There are 2 names really, and that's it. But there are names down here I'm interested in. This allows you to do a lot. Westbrook Akine always seems to do something. He's like a much hated guy. No one ever likes Westbrook Akine. Westbrook Akine is one of these guys I have a lot on my best ball teams. And that's why I know because because he's available super late. And I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's on the field, right? Like you're at a point of the draft where it's kind of like names that you're not even sure if they're playing, like Mecole Hardman. And you're like, this Westbrook Akine guy, you know what? He's on the field. He's in there. And I think it's a good spot for Westbrook Akine. If they're going to be throwing more, why not? So I could see him doing a little something. The price is right, $3,400 below the kickers. I don't mind that. Between him and Treylon Burks, you prefer Burks?
I do slightly, but yeah, I think both these guys, the Tennessee pass catchers down in this range, Chig, Burks, and NWI. I mean, we could see Levis develop a chemistry with any of them. So yeah, they're all in play. They're all super cheap.
And we talked about earlier, Connor Haywood actually does get quite a bit of targeting in these games where Patty Freiermuth is out. He basically slides right into that role, sees the Freiermuth work. So that's fine as well.
Safest pay down.
Yeah, totally safe. Gonna see 3, 4, 5 targets. Is there anybody else down here that I really need to account for outside of just turd in a punch bowl type stuff? I mean, Allen Robinson had a couple good games earlier this year, but with Deontay kind of back in full force, I don't really expect him to be super involved.
Yeah, it's all about how your lineup construction goes, but I'm not super interested in these guys beyond Connor Hayward. I think, Kyle Phillips, Chris Moore, you could throw a dart at. Allen Robinson, you could obviously throw a dart at. He's on the field a bunch. And then if you want to get really, really silly for the millie, Darnell Washington could be your min-price turd punt.
So gross. Turdliest. One thing I will say, though, in looking at the matchup sheet was that these Kyle Phillips and Chris Moore are on the field. Like, they are on the field. They are in the game. They don't look for them. They don't throw it to them most of the time, but they're in the game. And again, there's a new quarterback. So who the hell knows? Maybe Will Levis has been practicing with Chris Moore all season long, and they have a little chemistry going on. I don't know.
Never know. Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, maybe he's the QB2. He's practicing with Kyle Phillips. They're throwing, they're going out to dinners together. Like, hey, we're the new guys on the team, and let's be friends. And the girlfriends hang out together. Like, they all go on dates. Now your girlfriend's like, throw it to Kyle Phillips, throw it to Kyle, like Sherry's calling me, and she's like, why didn't you throw it to Kyle? She give me a hard time. You know what I mean? Like, you ever get the pressure? All of this is made up. I don't know that any of this happened, but what if it did?
What if it did?
It could. You could see it though, Bobbywow. Like, your girlfriend, if you're like couples friends with another player on the team, and the girlfriend's like, come on, have Will throw it to my guy. I need him to stay on the team next year.
Although, you know what? While we're on the narrative piece, didn't Will Levis' girlfriend ditch him after he didn't get drafted in the first round? Might be a soft spot.
I don't remember any of that.
Okay. Maybe I'm making that up.
That did not happen. I think he's got a smoking hot girlfriend.
I need the chat to confirm, because I feel
I think he's got a smoke show. I have a feeling Will Levis's girlfriend is like, no joke. Mateo, no, Sherry Phillips, Kyle's wife, just giving Will's girlfriend a hard time. Like, come on, throw to Kyle. Oh my God. If you don't do that, he's gonna be working at like a high school as a football coach in a year from now. I want him in the NFL. I want to have money. His girlfriend did ditch him. Oh man, she is regretting that right now. Insta model. So anyway, let's make a lineup, Bobbywow, because I can get distracted, and next thing you know, people are like, this show sucked.
Oh my God.
So let's build a lineup here. I'm gonna scroll up. Derrick Henry. Who are we starting this thing off with? Is it Derrick Henry? Is he the obvious guy? Do we want to go down to
make your pick between Pickens and Henry?
It's always fun like that. Let's see if we can do a lineup built around the most expensive guy.
There we go.
Although I don't mind throwing a defense up. There's a lot of ways to build. But if we're going to start with the most expensive guy, let's see how a lineup would work. So a Derrick Henry lineup, number one, implies that Steelers defense isn't like dominating. That's first. So I'm not going to go there. It implies that it's either a close game or that the Titans are winning. So extra passing game work. So let's put Pickens in over here. They're throwing a catch up. I'm going to avoid Warren and Najee in this style of lineup.
This is where it gets interesting, because you have a lot of flexibility even now.
Chig?
Yeah, you go Chig, you could go
Hayward.
Connor Hayward, and you just have nothing but money to play with.
Well, let's see here. I got Chig in there. Oh, if I double down. But I really want these kickers. I'm telling you, the kickers are key. So I'm going to plug in a kicker. I'm going to plug in another kicker. And we have Will Levis as the last piece. Let's see if that works. Levis. No, you don't want Levis.
I mean, or, you go with Connor Hayward instead of Chig, and you might be able to get D-Hop.
I can get D-Hop in there with a switch off of Chig to, ooh, perfect. Oh, yeah. Look how nice that looks.
Yeah, that to me is the play.
That's a beautiful lineup right there. Both kickers in it, which I'm telling you, I really feel like that is a way to go in this style of game. Not saying it's going to happen here, but if there was ever a type of game where the kickers get a lot of field goals, this is it. No defense in here. What's that?
That's a good balanced approach right there.
Yeah. And then other lineups like this that I would want to build, I would, of course, want to have one or both or some combination of these defenses as well. So I think what I'm trying to do here, Bobbywow, is I'm trying to get away from like just fully falling into the trap of Titans offense is great now because Will Levis is here.
Yes.
And like, I want to stay away from that trap and I want to stick to, the Steelers are pretty good at home. This is a rookie quarterback and a Titans team that's pretty conservative. One thing that's lost in the mix of like, oh my God, Will Levis is awesome. He only threw 29 times. Like, they didn't depart that much from the standard Titans approach to a game.
It's true. Yeah, it's another good point.
So, I mean, it's just not noticed because you're like, oh, Will Levis is amazing. And he had a great game. And he throws deep, and we love all of that. And maybe you're right. Treylon Burks might even be the better guy for that style of game than even what DeAndre Hopkins is. But the other thing is Cam Hayward is back. Like, the Steelers have their defense in place.
Minka's out, though.
Minka's out. Minka might be out for a while. Did I see that right?
I think he's going to be out for extended time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not good. So, but they have their defense, and it's also Thursday, and shitty games happen on Thursdays.
Look, they've got TJ Watt. I mean, that dude could single-handedly destroy Will Levis. So yeah, absolutely.
And again, shitty games happen on Thursdays. Have we not been here all Thursday, all year long, watching these shitty games happen on Thursday? It's a 37-pointer. All right, let's talk FanDuel. FanDuel. Let's see here. Bobbywow. We always talk about FanDuel. Quarterbacks, running backs, massively favored here. But you've got the two touchdown scoring, potentially touchdown scorers at wide receiver, and Pickens priced ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. By the way, note the difference between FanDuel and DraftKings. FanDuel this year has been sharper and more correct with how they score, how they price players.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a way to understand if a player is priced correctly from a value perspective, watching the FanDuel salary and comparing it in terms of ranking compared to DraftKings is very helpful. And note that Pickens is priced above DeAndre Hopkins here. Fascinating.
Great, yeah. And look how cheap Pickett is.
13.5 because he stinks.
Yeah, but exactly.
You know what the last time a shitty quarterback was priced at 13.5? It was Jimmy Garoppolo the other night when he fucking stunk.
Benched. He stinks.
I think they're making a mistake benching
Him and Brock Purdy are the same person. I'll stand by that.
Oh no, Purdy. You hate Purdy too. So take me through Derrick Henry is an obvious one.
I think he's the top play on FanDuel.
Yeah.
But then you gotta pay attention to QBs. I mean, it's all about running backs and quarterbacks on FanDuel, right?
Gotta have Will Levis as a strong play. If it's not Henry, it could be Levis. I'm going to again add in one group that you did not. I think kickers and defenses are viable captain play MVP plays on FanDuel this week. I will say it again and again.
I will agree. Yes,
they're viable
for once. Yes,
I know you guys don't. I know you don't like it. They're viable, Bobbywow.
They are in this game. They are.
George Pickens, touchdown scorer, fine. But here's the problem with George Pickens. Kenny Pickett has only ever thrown for one touchdown in a game, and you probably need two touchdowns to get here. So I don't know how he can get there, Bobby. You need two. And he's only ever thrown for one.
I think he has one game last season of two, but yeah, that's it.
I love that people who are watching, even like, you guys should know by now, by the way, I just want to say this because this is really important. I love Bobbywow and your takes. I literally, sometimes I'll like mess around during a show, but then I'm going to play that guy. Like, Bobbywow has been right on those things. I actually will play that up a little bit so you remember that Bobbywow made that call. Like, if I don't make a big thing, like, how many times has this happened? At this point, it's a known thing. I was like, if I rip it, I know it's going to do well. It's almost like a thing. So that was an awesome call. And I love that people play it, even though, I mean, it just worked out. Of course, no one mentions the Gus Edwards stuff, but
that doesn't get nearly enough credit.
I don't want the credit. It's fine. It's fine. Yes, I told you guys to play Gus all week, but whatever. Yeah, he scored 3 touchdowns.
And we all ripped you. The chat ripped you. We ripped you live on the show.
Yes, you guys were like, Gus Edwards, what are you, crazy? I believe it was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going there. Kind of responses, but YOLO.
It happens. Yeah, I think, that's the thing about DFS Army, right? Like these picks, these crazy dart throws are wrong more often than they're right, but I feel like we get them right more often than most. So,
and if we don't listen, there's a few of us, and I love the diverse set of opinions. Like it's not a monolith here, and exactly. I respect everybody, including our members. We have subscribers, like we have members who throw stuff out there, and I'm like, that is brilliant, and that makes it also. That's the beauty. We're really more of a collective than anything else, and that's what I like it to be. That's how I wanted it.
That's why
when you're in our chat, in our Discord, and if you're not in our Discord, get in the Discord. So get signed up at DFS Army. We got a free month. Click over here. Where is it? I got a free month. Just right there. Click it. Free month. You see what we're about. But
that's the beauty, right? Like that I saw that in the chat. Like, hey, I heard someone mention Gus Edwards, and I checked him, so I played him. But I didn't, I decided not to play Hopkins. And then vice versa. We got people that, heard Hopkins' name, they played him. Like that's the beauty of that dialogue happening. So yeah, man, I love it.
Yeah. No QB lineups viable tonight. Yeah, I think definitely. Like you can do that. I'm not saying I'm only doing that, but if you did a lineup like that, I would be fine with it. So let's take a look at the rest of this FanDuel stuff here and see if we could figure out like an appropriate. There you go. So Najee and Jalen, both touchdown potential scorers, 11K, 10K. You know what? Let's take a look at something here. Let's see if I can get a rushing yards prop on these guys. Hang on.
The only thing about no QB that makes it just a little bit less appealing, and I still like it a lot, is that at some point there will need to be a top 6 scores that come out of this game. So even if those scores are low, we will need the top 6, and QBs, certainly have paths to getting there. So that's the issue.
On FanDuel, I'm not super excited about not playing these QBs. I think almost Will Levis is a must play. I'm much more interested in Will Levis on FanDuel, I'm going to say. But let's take a look here. So rushing yards for Warren, 25. 50-50 over under, so 25. Will Levis is getting a 10-yard. Okay. Najee is at 45. So, I mean, bet the under on Najee, bet the over on Warren.
I think Najee's a slightly better play on FanDuel. Warren's better on DraftKings. Warren's PPR upside. Najee's probably the more likely guy to get the ball near the end zone if they can get there. But yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
I'm surprised at how different these two numbers are, considering they're almost producing the same on the season. Our projections do like both guys to go over for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, Najee is projecting for 56. So, yeah, I mean, Najee Harris is okay at 11K as well. Somebody asked about Mitch Trubisky in the Pickett gets hurt, crazy, play the backup. I'm not into it. Yeah. I'm just not sure that Mitch gets there, even if the other guy gets hurt. Like,
I love Mitch. I love Mitchy Mitch, but yeah, that's it's a tough sell.
Your loyalty. So let's scroll down here and see how to make a lineup work. Jalen Warren. So of course, Steelers defense, kicker, love the kickers. Going to say it again and again. Westbrook Akine, AK. Where's Treylon Burks?
6,500.
There you go. So in the correct pricing, Bobbywow, and this is what I was telling you before, that Akine is the superior play to Burks in the sense of like what the raw projection should be. Burks has that upside. I agree with you, and maybe more likely to get a big play for a touchdown.
Yep.
But Westbrook Akine, I think we'll see more targets more often than not than Treylon Burks.
It's a lot of value down here on FanDuel. You could do whatever you want.
Chig is down here at
Connor
7K.
Hayward.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Connor Hayward way down there. 7,500. Oh. Mr. 5 Cents is asking which kicker. I'm going to tell you, bro. I don't have any. I don't know. I don't have any.
Boswell, slight lean just because he's the favorite kicker at home. But yeah, I mean, both are firmly in play.
Can you not bet on kick? Don't bet on kickers live. You're just jinxing them. Like when you bet like minus 900, he's going to hit this field goal. Just don't do that. That is not a good way to bet on sports at all. Don't do that bet. It's not that you're jinxing them. It's just don't do that. If that's what you mean, Jaden Williams, don't do that. Don't bet on the kicker to hit this extra point. It's probably minus like 5,000. You think it's free money? They will get you on those. Like you don't make any money when you win, and you lose your ass when you finally lose that bet.
Free money isn't free.
Yeah, that is not a good bet. All right, so let's put a lineup together. I think we know what we got to do. If we're going below the kickers, we got to find someone who's going to score a touchdown, right? That's Chig. Those are tight ends. Trey Burks is fine.
Connor Hayward.
Yeah, Hayward. We want those tight ends, and we want Akine and
That's that. I mean, those four guys.
And Burks, yeah. So all right,
that's your core value.
See what a lineup looks like when we put one together. I like Henry. I like Levis. Okay. I like kickers. Could probably go Henry, Levis, Pickens, and then some of those cheap guys. Yeah, I mean, you could do whatever you want. You could get Kenny Pickett in here, no problem.
You go like Levis, Henry, Burks.
Yeah. If there was ever a slate where I think DraftKings, FanDuel is kind of interesting to actually play, because most of the time I don't want to, but
or Burks even frees you up to 9K.
Oh yeah, even better. Yeah, Burks. Get a kicker in there for the last spot, the Boz.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that. That's perfect.
A lot of different ways to build it. It's super flexible. You don't have to spend all the salary. I think that a little prediction time, Bobbywow. And guys, remember, hit that like button, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. But little prediction time. Do you think that leaving a lot of salary is going to be the move this week? Like, it seems pretty loose in terms of some of the pricing. Definitely on FanDuel, I think that leaving significant salary is the play. What about DraftKings? And how do you see it going down?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, whatever rules you typically set or whatever boundaries you typically restrict yourself to, expand those for a game like this. And that includes leaving salary on the table.
Yeah, some people were asking about rules. I want you to not put too many rules on. Sure, I'm going to still have if my QB is captain, pair him with a pass catcher from his own team. That's the only rule right now that I think is viable. I will play two defenses on the same lineup. I'll play two kickers. I'll play multiple running backs in the same lineup. Get away from those. Get away from those rules that we like, things that work in the past, like no two kickers in the same lineup. No, that stuff I would get away from here. This is a low scoring game, and they go weird and different than normal games. Or the game actually pops and it becomes like a normal game, and that could happen. But if it plays out even like Vegas is predicting, then that's where you can get a little weird with these, especially multiple defenses and kickers in the same lineup. So we'll see. It's a good way to start up the weekend. Now, the contrast between this and the Saturday and the Sunday morning showdown, it couldn't be more night and day. Sunday morning, we got Buffalo and Miami.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man.
They pulled it off the main slate. That would have been the game of the main slate, the game of the week, the game of the year. Instead, it's Sunday morning when I can't even watch because I got to focus on lineups, and I'm just not happy with what's going on in London.
I'm sorry. You know what? I'm excited. I got young kids. I get to tune in and watch that thing. That's like the prime viewing hour for me. Wake up, get some coffee, watch some football.
I have to work. I got to make lineups, answer questions. I'm like going nuts, putting bets in. Sunday morning's like the craziest time. There's no way I could sit and just enjoy a game. I wish it was like Thanksgiving and there were 3 games and I was ready. You know what I mean? But anyway, good luck tonight, everyone. Remember to like, subscribe, notification bell, sign up at DFS Army. Now is the time. Do it. Do the free month. Do whatever you got to do. Get in there. The discussion's happening. Bobbywow, all the crew. Josiah's in there. Available for dating purposes, by the way, ladies.
Available and attainable.
Yes. Well, don't say attainable. Available. I don't know about attainable.
For the right person.
Yes. So that'll do it for this one. We will see you guys next time. Good luck, everybody.